What happened to Tom Hagen? The concept of loyalty is only strange when you apply it to anyone other than yourself. The idea that something outside of our own self can be worth more than our own life seems to contradict the deeply embedded survival instinct we all possess within us as living organisms. In fiction, characters with a strong basis on loyalty provide excellent insight into this interesting dynamic that is unique to humanity. What is the nature of self-sacrifice? Is there virtue to be gained at the expense of one's own interest? These characters make us understand the indispensable nature of loyalty and the value that it can potentially bring. In the Godfather movies, Tom Hagen is a character built on the idea of unyielding loyalty toward the Corleone family. Acting as the family's exclusive lawyer and consigliere, his nonviolent character is often juxtaposed against many of your typical mafiosos' aggressive and murderous approach. However, it's been made clear time and time again that this lack of physical aggression is not to be confused with weakness. It is just as Vito Corleone says in the original Godfather novel, a lawyer with his briefcase can steal more than 100 men with guns. Tom Hagen is indispensable to the family's success and rise to power, which is why when his presence is omitted entirely in the third movie, we can't help but wonder what happened to him. In order to understand what happened to Tom, why he died the way he did, and the many ways he could have died, we must first understand a couple of things about him, who he is, and the role he plays in the Corleone family. Who is Tom Hagen? Unlike Michael, Sonny, or Fredo, Tom is not a direct descendant of Vito Corleone. He's an adopted son brought to Vito's attention through Sonny. This carries more significance than it first seems. You see, Tom is not Italian. He's a non-Italian in what is very often seen as an Italian-exclusive crime family. In the Godfather novels, it's explained that this becomes a point of mockery and contempt from the other families. The Corleone family would often be referred to as the Irish family due to Tom Hagen's racial background and influential position in the family despite him not being Italian. Tom's crowning as the family's exclusive lawyer and consigliere becomes the culmination of his unyielding loyalty. He expresses his gratitude for being picked up from the street with nothing, something that enables him to be a successful lawyer with financial stability and status by staying loyal to the family. However, the education and privileges given to Tom despite his background are not unfounded. Tom has proven his worth multiple times as the family's lawyer and consigliere. He's more level-headed than Sonny and is more reliable than Fredo. Tom is carrying out the family's business with precision and consistency. He isn't just an adopted kid who lucked out and is handed out success by his foster family. He's that very family's spokesperson and trusted negotiator. Tom Hagen and the Corleone family. A small bump in Tom's otherwise perfect career in the family is when Michael decides to discard him as the family's consigliere. While seemingly an attack on Tom's character, this is actually done because of how much Michael trusts Tom. Having seen Sonny die, Michael realizes that the number of people he could rely on and trust is dwindling quickly. With Vito's guidance, Michael demotes Tom's position as family consigliere. This way, Tom would not be able to know the most crucial and classified details of the family's business, and therefore would not have any malicious motivation against Michael in relation to these details he is ignorant of. Tom is treated like a mere backup plan here, another pawn in Michael's game of power struggle. However, Tom does not see it this way. He's honored to be the last person Michael could turn to when things go bad. Tom is glad that Michael officially sees him as a brother, something he's always wanted the moment he becomes a part of the Corleone family. This sentiment and genuine brotherly feeling Tom has for Michael is yet another testament to his undying loyalty. This is further reinforced by the fact that Michael would later lash out at him for an unspecified reason. Growing paranoid of Hyman Roth's ever-looming threat, Michael gets irritated at Tom for not being on board immediately with his plan to kill Roth. This scene is interesting because we never see Michael treating Tom this way before. Out of all the Corleone boys, Michael and Tom are the most alike. They're both calm and intelligent. They don't do things by impulse like Sonny did, and they understand the discipline and competence required to proceed through with a business the scale of their families, unlike Fredo, who does not concern himself with overly complicated things. Due to this parallel, Michael sees himself in Tom, and as Michael's self-loathing grows, he finds Tom to be the perfect person to project that hatred toward. Michael might have seen Tom as what he could have been if he were to hold back and not rule with an iron fist. However, none of these things can get Tom to falter. Tom remains loyal to Michael, and his love for the latter does not decrease in the slightest. Tom would go on and help Mike take care of Hyman Roth and eventually Frank Pintagelli. tying up all loose ends that could overthrow Michael's newfound power. What happens to Tom Hagen? Now that we understand who Tom is and his role in the family, we can discuss what eventually happens to Tom. There are several versions that highlight Tom's fate in detail, but before we go there, it should be noted that the real reason Tom was not in the third movie was because of a salary dispute between Robert Duvall and Francis Ford Coppola. Eventually, it was decided that Duvall was not going to be in the movie, and Tom Hagen's priest son was to take his place instead as an extension of the character. The third movie has Tom dying off screen sometime before its storyline begins. The cause of death is unknown. This unceremonious send-off of one of the most beloved characters in the trilogy is very unfortunate, but there are a couple of other versions that talk about how Tom's life comes to an end. An earlier draft of this script of the third Godfather movie has Tom shot in a car in an assassination attempt. It was not clear who the intended target of the assassination actually was, but the family lost a few men in the process, with Tom dying from a shotgun and Michael's son Anthony becoming the only survivor of the attack. On the other hand, the Godfather novels have a more interesting idea of how Tom's life should have ended. In a sequel to Puzo's original novel, Nick Garassi betrays the Corleone family and has Tom Hagen locked and tied up in a car that's on its way to a swamp filled with thick brown water. He eventually suffocates and dies, and his body is never found. Nick Garassi would then send Tom's wallet in the mouth of a dead baby alligator to Michael Corleone, signifying that while Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes, Tom Hagen sleeps with the alligators. Tom's lack of presence in the third movie does make us wonder. Several ideas that roam around, whether they be in novels or earlier drafts of the script, prove that there's more to tell of the Irish lawyer and that the Corleone family's story can feel incomplete without him. Within the scope of the third movie's story, there's no way of knowing if Tom really dies of natural causes or whether he dies in the line of duty for the Corleone. But that doesn't matter, because whatever it may be, all of these versions have one thing in common. And that's the fact that Tom Hagen remains loyal toward the end. He can be eaten by alligators or have his head blown to pieces with a shotgun, but he does not betray Michael and the Corleone. Tom's character is unique because he becomes a testament that shows us that even in the face of all the backstabbing and betrayals and the overall ugliness of the Godfather's world of organized crime, loyalty pays. It's interesting to think that despite how race-oriented the mafias can be, the Corleone's most loyal member happens to be someone that doesn't share their Italian blood.